ongoing Y20 events and programs held across the country. Now, Y20 is an official engagement group of the G20, and it is composed of the young population from the G20 countries. Y20 India acts as a platform for dialogue and negotiations to address the challenges facing our generation. It encourages the youth, that is you, to raise awareness of global issues, exchange ideas, argue, negotiate, and come to a consensus. So as youth of ambassadors in the field of climate change, it is our responsibility to delve into the complex and interconnected issues surrounding climate change and disaster risk reduction, and explore ways in which we can make sustainability a way of life. We hope that your participation in today's sessions boost your momentum to engage in identifying solutions with special focus on what's happening in Goa, and that the outcome of this session will be Governing Council at RIS, Research and Information Systems for Developing Countries, and Autonomous Think Tank of the Ministry of External Affairs. Please put your hands together. I'd also like to welcome Meenal Kaushik, Madam, yes. Is she the head of? She's the Dean of Administration. I'd like to also welcome Dr. Pradeep Sarmokadam, Member Secretary of Goa State Biodiversity Board. He is also the State Nodal Officer for Climate Change. Please put your hands together. We also have with us Professor Suman Kundu, our very own Director of BITS Pilani, Goa. And not to forget, our convener of this program, Dr. Rajiv Kumar Chaturvedi, Associate Professor at BITS Pilani, Goa. Welcome to you all. Please. May I now call upon our distinguished guests to light the lamp, please. Thank you very much. Please, sir, Shishadri, sir, please take your place on the dais, please, sir. Yes, he's getting issues. Now, as a token of appreciation for your presence here, we would like to take the opportunity to present you with a hamper of goodies from brand Goan, which is harvested from sustainable farming practices and produced by local women in Goa. And this is done at our multi-processing units here in Goa. So may I call upon Professor Suman, Director of BITS Pilani, to present our chief guest, Professor Sunil Kumar, with a Goan hamper. We also have a Kunbi shawl. This is a very Goan traditional shawl. It's a product of Goa. And a memento as well. Thank you, sir. And a hamper to Dr. Pradeep Sarmokadam, Member Secretary of Goa State Biodiversity Board. And finally, BITS Director Professor Suman will also present a hamper to Dr. Rajiv Kumar Chaturvedi, the convener of this program. Thank you, sir. May I now request Dr. Rajiv Kumar Chaturvedi to present a Goan hamper to Professor Suman Kundu.
You can give each other.
Yes, you could give it back as well. It is my honor now to call upon the Director of BITS Pilani Goa, Professor Kundu, to formally welcome you all.
A very good morning to you all. It's my absolute pleasure, privilege, and honor to welcome you to Y20 Brainstorming Session on Climate Change and Disaster Risk Reduction here today at BITS Pilani. Professor Sunil Singh, Director NIO, our chief guest today, and over the last 1 year has turned into a good friend of mine. And I just learned today that his term as director has been extended for another 6 years. So he's here to stay, and we look forward to several engagements together. And it is very apt that he is chairperson of this event on climate change, because he heads National Institute of Oceanography. Oceans are our treasures, and especially in Goa, that's what we are, all look forward to. Dr. Seshadri Chari, I have, been introduced to him today. Our own Dr. Pradeep Sarmokadam, whom I have met today as well, who is also part of this event very much. Dr. Minal Kaushik, our Dean Administration, who is on stage, and our very young and dynamic, Professor Rajiv Chaturvedi, the environment enthusiast on campus and in Goa and in the state of, in the country of India. He is a very familiar face in this domain these days, and also the convener of this meeting. This meeting is also organized, as you have already heard in the introduction, in association with the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports and Information and Broadcasting, Government of India, led by the Honorable Union Minister, Sri Anurag Singh Thakur, and the Ministry of State, Home Affairs and Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India, led by the Honorable Minister of State, Sri Nishit Pramanik. Research and Information System for Developing Countries, RIS, Goa State Biodiversity Board, Goa State Climate Change Cell. Today is 1st August, so we are already into August. It's a very important month for us, because you all know that we are celebrating 75 years of independence, and we have had several events all throughout the year to celebrate Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. It's very important. And as a country, we are also, presiding over G20, and round the year we had several important events all throughout, and all across as a country. We are the third largest economy now. Talk about research and innovation, we are the fifth largest in terms of publications in the whole world. And, there are various other like BrahMos, which is our supersonic missile jet, which is now among the best, the fastest. And I hear that 14 countries are lined up to purchase this system, which is phenomenal. Chandrayaan, will be landing on moon on August 23rd. So we have all pioneering landmark achievements. And it goes very well with the G20 events that we have been organizing all throughout. The theme for today's brainstorming session on climate change and disaster risk reduction is probably the most important in the current context for India, for Goa and entire country. We have seen all kinds of disasters that are going on, from heat waves to floods, to fires, and it's important that as a country we arise awake and show the world how to tackle this. As a campus, BITS Pilani, we are an institute of eminence, and probably you have already seen how beautiful the campus is. And as a campus, we want to create a model campus which will adhere to all the best practices of climate and environment, which finally relates to health and happiness. And you have seen how green it is. We have a Green Champs team on campus who takes various activities on. In terms of research, there are various areas of research in climate conservation that we take up. Water recycling, wastewater management, microplastics, you name it, we do it all. We also try to follow good practices of clean energy. We have just installed solar panels on campus, and we are in the process of taking up 1 megawatt solar panel on campus. We recycle water, we have STPs, and we are extending its abilities to recycle water and use that for various other purposes, especially horticulture. We need a lot of water, and you have already seen how much water it would be taken. Now, in terms of drinking potable water also, we are doing various research. And of course, Rajiv, as I said, also carries that research forward, on behalf of BITS Pilani. So we are very happy finally to host a G20 event here. I was looking forward to it. And I must thank all the speakers, all the panelists who are part of this program. Without them, this could not have happened. And we are delighted. So there are various representations. I should quickly talk about them. We are delighted to welcome youth from academia. We have BITS representation here, PhD students and faculties from several colleges in Goa, including Goa University, research institutions like NIO and ICAR, financial institutions like NABARD representatives we have, and we also have representatives from the legal fraternity, 2 young professors and legal experts from IIU, LER, and also from media. We have Gauri from Times of India. Welcome. We have several colleagues from Goa Climate Change Cell, including its nodal officer, Dr. Pradeep, who is very much with us. We have received equally enthusiastic responses from administration and different government departments, and we are delighted to welcome deputy collectors from both the collectorates in Goa. Welcome. And Mamlatdar from one of the talukas, who actually implement disaster management on the ground. So it's very important for us. Young officers from the State Disaster Management Authority. We are especially delighted to welcome a young IFS officer, Amit Gemawat, effectiveness of disaster risk response in the state, with the ultimate aim to save lives and reduce people's sufferings. So we all look forward to the deliberations and the final report. Hopefully you can prepare a white paper that we can work on subsequently and to improve our climate conditions and look at disaster risk management in Goa, which is very important, and elsewhere. And I think we also have various research persons, resource persons like the Bappadas from ICR. We have, hopefully I'll not forget someone, Shruti Atpaikar, project scientist, climate change cell Goa, Gopal Sarkate from NABARD, Nasla Najib, and various others. If I have missed some names, welcome again to this brainstorming session. And I hope you enjoy your time here, have a good meeting, and look forward to hear from you, and your feedback as well. Thank you, Rajiv, for convening this meeting and for helping me with everything. Thank you, and welcome again.
Thank you, Professor Director, for welcoming us here to this lovely campus, BITS campus. I'd like to also add that besides all the stuff that he's mentioned and how sustainable this campus is and the practices that are being followed here, the staff, the management, the students, they're amazing. So thank you very much. We've really interacted with them. There are also products of BITS with us at Goa Climate Change Cell. So we're very grateful to BITS. Thank you, sir. And now I'd like to call upon Dr. Pradeep Sarmukadam, the Member Secretary of Goa State Biodiversity Board and the State Nodal Officer for Climate Change. He will set the tone of this workshop, of this brainstorming session. He will tell you the purpose. Okay, so sorry about that. I'd like to call upon Shri Ali Syed. Just a few words, so do not worry. So he's a consultant at Research and Information Systems for Developing Countries. And looking forward to your words. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us here. It's a very pleasant opportunity for us to come here with the Y20 brainstorming sessions. As you all might have been aware of the G20 proceedings that are going all over the country, the idea of the Prime Minister to make it as inclusive as possible. Therefore, with the objective of inclusivity, we are going all over the country with the Y20 brainstorming sessions under the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports and conducting these specialized workshops where we deliberate on 4 broad themes, which is peace building and conflict resolution, health and well-being agenda for youth, industry 4.0, and as you can see here, climate change and disaster risk reduction. We've been the same theme we followed in WISAG, although we are not being very strategic in terms of following this theme around coastal states, because this is a much larger issue that needs to be covered everywhere across all geographies, especially this year where we see the devastation being caused by the climate changes being so inconspicuous. Therefore, looking forward to have a great discussion. We have Dr. Shadri Chari with us. He's on the Governing Council of RIS. I would like to invite him, and if he could just educate all of you about the role of RIS. It's a 40-year-old think tank. So, Dr. Chari, if you could just tell us about RIS. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I leave the floor to you now.
Thank you. Thank you, madam. Thank you for all the pleasantries that were presented here since morning. It's an organization of 20 countries, and the presidency is by rotation. So we got it this time. So the next presidency of India will come after another 19 years. So most of you will be there, of course. I don't include in that myself in that committee. What is important is we are giving G20 a very new dimension. G20 is generally G to G, government to government meetings. So if you all go back 1 year, 2 years back, newspapers and all that, you wouldn't have even seen any report about G20. That is because generally governments, representatives of 20 countries come together, talk, chat and go away. But this time when India became the president, we decided that we should think of so many other factors that are affecting this world, affecting all of us. Our director spoke about Goa. Of course, climate change, as he very rightly said, climate change doesn't affect only Goa, it doesn't affect only India, it affects the whole world. Everybody is affected. Because we are like a family. Whole world is a family, that is what we say, no? So if somebody is not well in the family, the whole family feels bad about it. If somebody, when you got admission in BITS Pilani Goa campus, your whole family was happy, not that only you were happy and others were very sad. So family means all good, bad things affect everybody. Similarly, climate change. If world is one family, if there is a climate change in one place of the, one corner of the world, everybody is affected. So this is the theme that India is giving. And here, RIS plays an important role because RIS is part of the Ministry of External Affairs. But RIS doesn't have only external affairs. RIS has got a board, a governing council, and there are secretaries of Ministry of External Affairs, that is Foreign Secretary, what we call, and then Secretary of Science and Technology, and then Secretary of Revenue Ministry, Secretary of Finance Ministry, and Secretary of Trade and Commerce Ministry. They are all ex officio members of the board. I am the non-governmental member of the board. And we have got what we call, I'm also looking after as the acting chairman because we don't have a permanent chairman now. And then we have got a finance committee which looks after all the programs. So this is part of the Ministry of External Affairs because it was started by the Ministry of External Affairs. We were attached to Ministry of External Affairs. But in those days, we were looking after international trade. Even now we are looking after international trade. But international trade is not something very separate nowadays. Everything is all got mixed up. As my colleague Syed Ali said, we are also looking into science and technology because science and technology secretary and science and technology ministry is part of RIS. So how to carry forward the ideas of science and technology. So now when two countries are trading, they are not just trading, they are not just selling rice and getting money out of it. They are also selling technologies. Our director mentioned about BrahMos. BrahMos is probably the first technological agreement we had with Russia. So it's a huge kind of a program that we have. And incidentally, when we started with BrahMos, it was almost 90-10. 90% of BrahMos was the Russian technology was imported here and we did it. And only 10% India. 10% India means what? Structure, watchman. All this was 10%. Today it is 70-30. 70% of the BrahMos is India's contribution. Only 30% is Russian contribution. Mainly the meter range now. But we are still saying only 300 meters because we have not yet tested the 500 meter range. So that is the kind of technological growth that we have made in these years. So trade no longer involves only rice and wheat. Trade involves technology. Trade involves research in medicine. Trade involves all these aspects. So we are looking at international trade, international relations, and also how to place India in the geopolitical context. Incidentally, I teach geopolitics and international relations in Manipal and Pune. So we have to look into the geopolitical construct which is now happening. So all these are part of the work that the RIS is doing. So Government of India requested RIS that we should now go and tell all this to the students, the people who are going to really lead the country in the future. So that is the program that RIS has undertaken. The Prime Minister's office gave us a mandate to do 76 universities because 76 years of India's independence, so 76 universities. But looking at the response, we have added some more, and now we are going to do something like 100 universities. BITS Goa, incidentally, is the 69th event we are doing. This is the 69th event. So very soon we will be able to do the next 31 also. And our target is September. So we hardly have 2 more months to do all the rest of the 31, which we would certainly be doing. So the response has been absolutely fantastic and great. And along the G20, there is another vertical called Y20, Youth 20. There is one vertical called Women 20. There is one vertical called Science 20, Climate 20. So all these factors we have put into the G20 vertical. So they are all taking place at the same time in all the universities of the country, among all the groups and NGOs, non-government organizations, and all these people are now part of the G20. So we are making it as a great movement. And it's also very important from the future point of view. So this is the slight background about RIS, which was started 40 years back. This is the 40th year of RIS. It was the brainchild of one of the finest foreign policy analysts of this country. His name was Ambassador G. Parthasarathi. He is no more, of course. He was a contemporary of Srimati Indira Gandhi, and it was started at the time of Mrs. Indira Gandhi, who gave the idea that we should have an economic think tank, basically economic and international trade think tank, to develop a sort of a group for developing countries. So it is called Research and Information System for Developing Countries. That is the full name. Now, developing countries, we have not dropped, but we don't mention it everywhere. Otherwise, it's a long name. So it is Research and Information System. It was started in the background of non-aligned movement, NAM. So all this, of course, part of geopolitical structures, which probably we might be able to discuss in the afternoon session. But this is the background of RES, and this is the background of Y20, Youth 20, which we are organizing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for this valuable information in the background of RIS. And I'm sure you kind of got an idea of what G20 is all about. And I hope you're not going to say G stands for Goa at this moment. You got your answer of G, but it can be anything else but not Goa. And I do want to say that it's very nice to have you here, sir, with us. And thank you for coming all over to Goa and giving us this privilege of being the 69th event. It's a great privilege. I'm feeling very good about it. And I hope you all are feeling extremely excited about what's going to happen and like what are we going to cover up in this event today. So now to set the tone.
We are scientists. I'm very happy to have both the collectorates here. The youth, the event is mainly focused on the youth. And I'm very happy to say that in Goa, we have biodiversity committees constituted at local body level, and we have some young BMC chairpersons who are also professors and scientists who are here. You will find they're like students, but they have been the first time chairpersons of these local bodies. We also have students from MSc Environmental Science, students from BITS, and various youth from various corners of the state. I'm very happy that this event is organized in Goa, and I think it's because of BITS that this event came here. We are very happy. We are working very closely with BITS when it comes to preparing policy documents of the state, and when dealing with climate change and disaster risk reduction. These are the key topics of this conference, and I want to say that, as everybody has said, this is not a local problem. This is a global issue, but it also makes us feel that, oh, it's a global issue, so what can I do? So many people, when we were preparing state action plan also, they said that Goa is so small that you do not have actually significant greenhouse gas emissions and all those things. So when we prepared state action plan for climate change, we got a compliment from the ministry that it was most consulted. And I would like to state that one of the major consultations we had was with the people, and we were thinking that what people will know about climate change. But when people started giving inputs, they were so interesting, and we come to know that it is very important that we also involve people. So when it comes to inclusiveness, as said by RIS, I think it is very important. when we talk about inclusiveness in climate change, I think this is the right forum where we are interacting with the youth who is actually going to actively participate, because finally, who deals with the climate change? It's not the scientists and it's not the policy makers who actually do the work on the ground. We set the policy, and if the policy comes from the consultative process, then only it can become more effective. And that is what we have been doing it in the state of Goa. We have largest consulted state action plan for climate change, which is in place. In that we had several sectors, including budgetary analysis, which was done with all the departments coming together. And many times we came to know that there are so many things that state is already doing. In fact, our country is already doing through various schemes, but we do not know the linkages with climate change. And that's what exactly when we came to know, when we did a one-day workshop with all the departments doing the budgetary analysis of every scheme, initiative, program, and we came to know that whether it is disaster risk mitigation or whether it is dealing with the climate change, everyone is trying to do the bit. Our objective was to actually make them realize how we are doing it, how we should do it more often, how we should do it more professionally, how we should measure it, and how can we seek and get the opportunities from international funding. So I would like to tell you two things on this August forum. First is, we have been sanctioned with NMSKCC Climate Cell for the first time in Goa, which is already initiated. We are also working with World Bank on blended finance opportunity, wherein again the consultations means lot, and we have been doing first project proposal concept note for availing the global funds, and national adaptation funds are there. So whether it is budgetary analysis or whether it is technological inventions which consist of early warning systems, that is something very important from a disaster point of view. As we all know, we will be having more storms in the Western Ocean, in the Arabian Sea, which was not so as compared to the eastern side. So we can expect more turbulences and more uncertainties. The last point I want to make is, it is not only that we will have more storms. When are we going to have it? There are small things which make a lot of difference. Now at this time, when we know that the soil is moist, when the trees are very vulnerable, and if you get storms at this time, you will find many trees falling down. Soil is already soft, so many landslides can occur, and we have been working right from landslides till early warning systems. Materialistically, we are growing very well. We are very satisfactory. We know how science technology is developing, but the uncertainties that are posed by climate change and the disasters for which we have not accounted for, I think it is going to change our entire calculation. And I have been designing so many things. One of them, I'll give a last example and then I'll stop. When we used to design rainwater harvesting systems, we used to consider 112 mm as the highest peak rainfall intensity in the past. Today it has, this year it was 220 plus. So where are our tank systems going to work? So climate change has actually started creating a lot of issues when it comes to actions on the ground. And for us, what matters is climate smart actions. And if we have to act smart, today we will have to think what we are going to do. It's a day when we have to deliberate. And I'm very happy that so many young minds are here. And it is for you all to actually tell the government how we should go about, so that our future is climate resilient. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And now the time has come that we will now call upon our chief guest, Professor Sunil Singh, Director of CSIR, National Institute of Oceanography. He will address the gathering, and this is his speech for today. And may we all put our hands together and welcome our chief guest.
Respected dignitaries on the dais, Professor Shuman Kundu ji, Director of this institute, Dr. Sesadri Chari ji, Member Governing Council RIS, Dr. Pradeep Sarvokadam ji, Dr. Rajiv Chaturvedi ji, Madam Kausik ji, young friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really very happy and thankful to Director and Pradeep Sarvokadam ji and Rajiv ji to giving me this opportunity to talk in this Y20 brainstorming session of climate change and disaster risk reduction meeting. When we are talking about climate change, I think there are a lot of sections are there. When we are talking about climate change, it includes global warming. We are talking about sea level rise. We are talking about ocean acidification. We are talking about extreme climate. You have noticed last 1 month huge rain in Goa. So these are all part of climate change. And the main factor which controls all those things, or which are igniting this climate change, is the CO2 which we are pumping into the atmosphere. The 37 gigaton of CO2 which are being produced anthropogenically every year, we are putting in the atmosphere. That is the main reason which is increasing this temperature of the globe, which are causing the acidification of the ocean, which are causing the sea level rise and all the adverse effect which we are seeing. And we are all aware that this increase in CO2 is happening because of various reasons, and mainly because of our energy and heat requirement. Out of the 37 gigaton carbon which we are pumping into the atmosphere, India is also responsible for about 2.5 gigaton, which is about 6% or something like that. Though, with respect to our population, it is not much, but of course it is adding to the CO2. And everybody is aware now that temperature of the globe has gone up by almost 1.1 degrees centigrade on average. Somewhere it has gone high, somewhere it is low. And this temperature increase is really causing the concern that how the entire ecosystem or how the entire environment. So the whatever heat is getting generated, majority of that is going to the ocean. And ocean is a very good absorber of heat. The ocean heat content is increasing like anything. So if you can imagine, the top 100 meter of the ocean is storing the energy of millions of atom bomb which has been dropped on Hiroshima because of this warming. So now you can imagine the energy being stored in this top layer of the ocean, which will be dissipated in terms of cyclone and storms and all those things. And we have witnessed many of them very recently. I think this year itself we have seen how the Biparjoy has really created havoc in different part of India. We also remember few years back how the Taukate cyclone has created huge amount of destruction in Goa. In fact, I have witnessed in the morning hours many of the trees falling on my building. Similarly, NIU has lost almost hundreds of the trees during that time, as Pradeep Sarmakadam ji was telling. So this climate change, as you see, is going to have lot of impact on our life. And as everybody is aware, it's of course going to impact the entire globe, but impact on the small island countries, coastal ocean, or coastal areas or state having coastal means the regions will be impacted much more. And state like Goa, where the land is very limited, a small increase in the sea level will submerge many of the low-lying areas, and that will going to impact very badly to the common people in Goa. So really we have to work in this direction to mitigate this disaster. Of course, Goa is not contributing too much to the overall increase of the global warming of CO2 and all those things. But the impact which will happen, it will impact the Goa very badly because of the various reasons, and we have to really worry about that. So as I was telling you, ocean is a very big reservoir, ocean impacts the climate very badly. They are connected in a way that it is not only controlling the global climate, it is also controlling the monsoon system and hence the economy. So what is happening in terms of climate change we are talking about, in terms of global warming or in terms of ocean connection, if you see, the whole climate of the earth or atmosphere is governed by the ocean. And the deep water which is being generated in the both two polar regions, whether it is Antarctic or Arctic, that is supplying huge amount of oxygen and distributing the heat of the globe. Now, because of this climate change, the whole balance is getting disturbed. The deep water which is forming in the polar region, which is going to deep down and coming to the equatorial region, and equatorial heat is going to the polar region, that is getting disturbed. Actually, recent study has shown that the deep water which is forming in the Antarctica got reduced significantly, almost 40%. And if that is the case, the water which is coming from the Antarctica to the Indian Ocean or various ocean, it is getting disturbed very rapidly, and hence the oxygen which was supposed to come to the Indian Ocean is significantly lower. And because of the monsoon system, the productivity is very high. So when the ocean productivity or the biological matter, when they are dying, they are going down, and they are consuming the oxygen of the intermediate water, and when supply is less, the entire northern Indian Ocean, we have oxygen deficient condition. Already it was there, and we have witnessed this chaotic problem when during the monsoon, the water or this intermediate water is getting upwelled in the coastal region. We have observed tons of fishes are dying in the coast of, near the estuary of Mandvi, near the Karanjalim and all. Every year this phenomena is happening. Now imagine the situation when, because of the climate change, when the deep water formation is getting reduced by half, the further oxygen level will go down, this dead zone will be increasing, and what will happen to the fishery, you can imagine. Every year this we are going to face. You can know how entire India, but of course the Goa is very much dependent, means the people are dependent on this fishery, and when fishery is dying, I think it will be very chaotic situation. So it is not only the local problem, means entire globe when we are connected, the way it is happening, I think the huge problem is going to happen. And we are observing every day. In fact, if today, sometime back actually, we were told that this year fish catches has become very high, this mackerel and all this is increasing. Now because of this temperature change, climate change, what is happening? The fishes are moving toward the pole. So the oil sardine and all those fisheries, the catch is reducing in the Kerala side, and then it is slowly, slightly, they are coming towards the Goa side, but further they will move because the polar region means as the temperature is, this side is increasing, so both the sides in the east coast and west coast, the fishes are migrating. And this is not only happening in the Indian Ocean, but it is happening in the Atlantic also. So the Arctic Ocean, actually people are worried. Actually they are calling that it is happening, the Atlantification of Arctic, because it is getting warmed, so the fishes from the Atlantic, they are migrating to the Arctic. So everywhere it is happening, the same situation is happening in the Indian Ocean also. So this is one thing which is going to be impacted badly. It was already there, but I think it will be further getting reduced. And when we are talking about oxygen and all, this is Arabian Sea, but the similar situation, Bay of Bengal, because of the low oxygen as well as the huge amount of fertilizer which is being used in the land and which is going to the unutilized fertilizer going to the Arabian Bay of Bengal through the Ganga Brahmaputra, they are again going to create a huge productivity region, and eutrophication is going to happen, and oxygen will be consumed, and Bay of Bengal will also have the similar problem what we are having in the Arabian Sea. So again the fishery will be impacted. Not only fishery, the entire ecosystem, biodiversity will be impacted. So this is a big problem what we are going to have. Similarly, when you are talking about the temperature, you see the temperature, what is happening, when we are talking about temperature increase of 1.1 degrees centigrade on an average, but it is not everywhere the same. When you talk about the Indian Ocean, because of its geographical location, I told you, the low latitude land boundary which we have, our water is not able to move. It is almost a dead end, we call it. So what is happening, the temperature increase is much more in the Indian Ocean compared to the other ocean. So if you see this tropical global ocean, the temperature increase is 0.11 degree centigrade per decade since last 4 or 5 decades. But in the Indian Ocean, the same temperature increase is 40 to 50% higher, 0.15 to 0.16 degrees centigrade per decade. Particularly in the Arabian Sea, if you come to this western side, it is even people have measured now the 0.35 degrees centigrade per decade. So the huge change, and this increase, you have observed this. And at the same time, I told you the ocean heat content of the top 100 meter of the ocean has increased dramatically. So the cyclones are increasing, number of cyclones are increasing, and not only that, intensity is increasing because you are having huge energy source. So when cyclone is getting generated, it is being supplied huge amount of energy, and it is continuing for a long time. We have seen that Biparjoy, it started near the Maldives and continuously went up to north, and still it continued to the interior of the Indian Ocean, northern India for a long time before dissipating the entire energy. So they are getting huge energy, means number of frequencies increasing, intensity is increasing, and I think this will continue going to further getting burst. And now this year you have all observed the month of May or initial part of June, the temperature means were very, very high, and it was because of the connection everybody talks about, the El Nino and all. So that connection, because huge amount of water is coming from the Pacific to the Indian Ocean, the warm water which is coming from the Pacific to the Indian Ocean, and particularly El Nino year, that become even worse, and that is the reason temperature is increasing, and hence this temperature increase will further increase, it will going to enhance in the future, and you know, unless we take care of all these things, it will be very, very difficult. So it will impact the climate, it will impact the temperature, cyclone, and this type of rain system. Actually, it is becoming very, very difficult to even predict because of the uncertainty, because of the climate change. Because you know, in the beginning, people were thinking after long, we are moving from the La Nina year to El Nino year. These are going to have very bad weather, and rainfall will be very, very less. But at least you have seen the Western Ghat and even up to Western India, I think huge rainfall. Of course, again, you can see the distribution is very, very bad. If you go to the central India or particularly northern part of the northern India, rainfall, still they are facing drought kind of condition. So this means already the prediction and all was very much complicated in the tropical region, but because of this climate change, this has another dimension has been added, and now it is becoming very, very difficult. So you can imagine in many ways the climate change is impacting us, and hence we have to really take care of that. So there are many ways to take care of that, and I think main culprit is carbon dioxide. So you know, the half of the ocean at least called the desert of the ocean, where productivity is very, very less, and because people think that many of the micronutrients are not there. So people have tried doing some experiment, putting the micronutrient like iron and all, and if you put iron fertilization in those areas, maybe we are going to increase the productivity, and hence the CO2 reduction can take place. So these are some of the ways I think this can be handled. Or when we are talking about this mangrove forest or seaweed, I think that is another way to remove the CO2, because the CO2 removal has to take place in the longer time scale. We cannot keep CO2 capture for say 1 year, 2 year or 10 years, because it will again go back to the atmosphere. So we have to remove the CO2 from the atmosphere on longer time scale, and that is the reason actually people are thinking that even they are trying to see whether you can put a lot of dust into the ocean, which will be coagulate all the organic carbon which are getting removing the CO2 and again coming back to the atmosphere. So before that it will be captured in that dust, and they will be sinking to the deep ocean. Similarly, increase the productivity, or remove the CO2 or pump into the basaltic layer of the ocean or other places where it will be converted to calcium carbonate and permanently will be buried. So those some of the major or geoengineering people are talking about, I think needs to be done, because the time frame, like right now already 1.1 degrees centigrade, I think even much more, and we have given time frame of 1.5 degrees centigrade, because after that it will be almost catastrophic. So we don't have time to wait, I think, and even our energy requirement is keep on increasing, and fossil fuel energy, I think it seems to be very difficult to be replaced by anything else, though we have huge. I think I may be already taken time, so thank you very much, and maybe we can discuss later. Thanks a lot.
Thank you to our chief guest, and yes, Goa is not immune to climate change, and that is why we are all here gathered, and we will discuss more in detail in the next session. Thank you to our dignitaries, our esteemed dignitaries, for being here with us today. And we will start the brainstorming session, and it's a panel session, yes. We will call one by one. Yes. So, thank you, sirs. Thank you, ma'am. To chair this brainstorming session, we have with us Dr. Sunil Singh, the director of NIO. He's our chief guest as well. So he will also be the chairperson for this session. Please stay on. Yeah, please. The theme is climate change. The topic is climate change and disaster risk reduction, a perspective from Goa point of view. So may I now call upon our first panelist, our first speaker, Dr. Rajiv Kumar Chaturvedi. He's the associate professor at BITS Pilani here in Goa campus. He's all set now to give you his verdict and his thinking, his observations, his projections on climate change in Goa, its relation to extreme events in the state. May I also tell you that he has been a great contributor to the state action plan on climate change. His efforts will always be remembered by the Goa State Climate Change Cell, Goa State Biodiversity, Government of Goa as well. So thank you to sir. And so I leave this floor to you now.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks a lot for comparing this. So, with your kind permission, I would start so this panel discussion. I think I don't have much time, but I will just, so before I start speaking, I would like to set the context actually. So the thing is that in this brainstorming, we are trying to focus on 5 key questions. How Goa has seen, so we are focusing on, we all know that climate change is a global problem. Everybody is facing this problem, but here in this meeting, we are focusing only on Goa, at least in the panel discussion. And we are trying to see that, so the first question, we are trying to answer 5 questions. And those questions will be there in the report that will be submitting to the G20 Secretariat and to the Ministry. The first question is, how Goa has how climate has changed already in Goa, how it might change in the next 100 or so years. And the second question is that, what is the current disaster risk reduction plan here in Goa? Then third question, what are the problems with that plan? Fourth question, okay, what is the strategy? What can be done? For example, can we create some early warning system for, say, for example, landslides, for forest fires, for cyclone? We already have a very pretty robust early warning system. Early warning system has been shown to be something that is really very useful in saving lives, etc. And then finally, fifth question, we have our colleagues from NABARD Bank, And Goa State is also working with the World Bank and various other donor agencies. The key question of finance and technology transfer, how to enable all these kind of things, early warning systems, etc. So my presentation will try to parts of India, as sir was saying in his presentation or in his speech, that the world has warmed by 1.1 degree centigrade, but not everybody has warmed equally. People have warmed differently. You can see here that southern India, especially Kerala, you see, southern India, Kerala, and including Goa also, we are also not very far away from the hot spots of climate change. So Kerala is seemingly, as sir was saying, fishes are moving away from Kerala. It is, even the land mass is also warming there. You can see the warming, the average warming that India has witnessed. This is our work that we have done for Government of India, and Forest Survey of India has carried all these maps in their annual Forest Survey of India report, which was published in 2021. And you can see here that on average, whole of India has warmed by 0.73 degrees centigrade in the last 100 or so years. But Goa has warmed 1 degrees. Kerala has warmed very close to 1.2. They will be touching 1.5 very soon, which is 1.5 sir has been talking about. India is a bit fortunate, our warming is lesser. The global average is 1.1 degree centigrade. India average is 0.73, but Goa average is 1. We are warming faster than others. So we need to be a bit careful. So this is about temperature. And this map shows about the changes that has taken place in the rainfall. You can see that in Western India, especially in the Western Ghats, you can see in Western Ghats, there are two different parts. The southern Western Ghat, that is including South Karnataka and Kerala, their rainfall is declining. Even this monsoon rainfall season also, Kerala has deficit rainfall. In Goa, we have already surpassed, even in July itself, we have got all the quota of our rain. And Gujarat, Rajasthan, even places of North India, they have received plenty of rainfall. But I was reading places in East UP, they have 70% deficit. Kushinagar, Devariya, Gorakhpur, all these districts which are agriculturally very sensitive districts, they have received so you can see here, that is I'm talking about from this monsoon season. I was just looking at this monsoon season, what is happening, but that is very much matching with what is happening in the long run also. In the agricultural hot spots of North India, rainfall is consistently declining. It will have implications on their groundwater, it will have implications on their, and in the South Karnataka as well as the Kerala, it is again the rainfall is declining. We need to be worried about the kind of forest ecosystems and things that are there. But fortunately in Goa is the place where transition takes place. From Goa onwards, Maharashtra is in having plenty of rain. So this is just to give you a perspective on the all India average. Now coming exclusively to Goa. Now from this point onwards, we'll only talk about Goa. So this figure which at BITS we have created for Goa State Action Plan on Climate Change, you can see that recently the temperatures in Goa has been pretty nice for a very long period of time till 1990. We had a very comfortable kind of situation. But from this point onwards, a very rapid increase in temperature has been witnessed, and 1 degree temperature rise has taken place already so far in Goa. We have created a very high resolution temperature map also using the topographical and our modeling experiments. And then this is the situation vis-a-vis the rainfall. So as I said, while in Kerala and the South Karnataka the rainfall is declining, in Goa it is increasing. And this is our finding from the IMD data sets. This finding has been corroborated by other works also. So there is no confusion. We have tested all the data sets. Some people are saying the increase is 30%, some others are saying 40%, some are saying 50%, but increase is there. Depending on which station you take data, this is the all state average graded data sets we have. So we are seeing increase in rain. Again, dwelling on the question, that whether this rainfall increase, is it good? Probably it is not good for the state. Why? If we have analyzed the data sets of the rainfall, so how many days in a 365 day, maybe 100 days or 120 days will be rainy days. That is what the rainy season is about. Out of 120 days, how many days category 1 rainfall take place, which is the good rainfall, which is we all want, which is moderate rainfall. As sir was saying, from 2.5 mm to 60 mm, 60.4 mm, whatever happens, that is moderate rainfall. That is what we want actually. But this monsoon season, what we have seen, I think sir will tell us more about that. So in this monsoon season, we have witnessed that in 30 days, more than like every day, the average rainfall was more than 70 or 80 mm. So every day it was heavy rain. So there was not a single day this year where this kind of thing. So on average, so this is a very scary scenario because the category 1 rainfall is declining. Despite the total rain quantum increasing in the state, the good rainfall, that is good for the ecosystem, good for everyone, which everyone enjoys, which agriculture requires, which ecosystems require, is declining. But heavy rainfall, category 2 rainfall, and very heavy and exceptionally heavy rainfall, that is increasing dramatically. Probably earlier 1 or 2 days will take place such rainfall which is more than 120 mm or more than that, maybe in couple of years, in 2-3 years, just 1 year. But now every year 10, 15, 20 such days are happening, and this season I think has been phenomenal in that context. So this is the situation. This is what exactly we are talking about when we say extreme events, climate change and extreme events. Yes, this is what is happening. This is what worries us. This is what brings landslides. This is what brings floods, because we know very clearly. Somebody was telling me from I think Goa Engineering College that they have done their one thesis. Student has done work. They knew that if the rainfall in certain parts of Goa or Panji will be more than this threshold, then there will be flooding. So, and then landslide has very much a relationship with these kind of events. So the very heavy and exceptionally heavy rainfall events are the ones which we are discussing here. These are increasing. This is what we term as disasters, and this is what we are worried about. Now looking into future, this is again our work that we have done at the All India level, and which has been very highly cited. More than 400 to 500 citations have been received for this work, and this was the first paper that showed the use of CMIP 5 models and showing how the temperature rise will happen in India. So you can see here that we have different scenarios. So basically, historically we are able to recreate the historical observed data sets. Historically we are getting, so it gives us confidence in our models. And then it shows that if the emissions, global emissions are not controlled, then temperatures might rise up to 4 to 5 degrees in India. But if the Paris Agreement is successful, if we are able to control emissions, and there are scenarios it is possible to reduce temperature below, even in India below 2 degrees, it is possible. And that is our ideal case. This is what all the climate policy is working upon. In rainfall, we do not have that much of confidence. Like different models for the same place are predicting differently. So we are not making much a statement about what will happen to the rainfall. But one thing we can clearly say, we can say with confidence, especially in case of Goa, I will come to that. So this is again the same analysis we repeated for Goa. You can see again in Goa also rainfall is like slightly increasing, and temperature again is going alongside as we have discussed in case of India. So in Goa, temperatures might increase up to 2 degrees centigrade by 2050. That is what it is already increased by 1 degrees. We may be missing the currently whatever policies are there in the pipeline, whatever negotiations are there in pipeline, whatever most optimistic scenarios are there, they are not taking us to 1.5 or even 2 degree also. Limiting warming below 2 degree also looks quite difficult at this point of time, but still we have some time, not a lot of time, we have some time left. So under climate change, we have identified in SAPCC the following emerging challenges for the state of Goa. Landslides are increasing. Recently in 2021, we had seen Goa has witnessed the biggest landslide ever that the state has witnessed in the recorded, based on the inventory that is publicly available. That is what Satram landslide in 2021. Forest fire has been witnessed in Goa last year, which was quite unprecedented, and everybody was taken aback by that forest fire. We never expected actually that forest fires will rage in Goa in that kind of, on that scale. So, but what we need to worry really about is in future, going forward, because Goa has more than 60% of the land area under forest cover. So if forest fires go out of control, then we will have big problem actually. So this is something that we need to really worry about. Our state was not really worried about this one thing. Our climate was such that we were not really worried about. So probably we need to get early warning systems. We need to get systems in place for landslide, which we were really not worried much about. Again, forest fires also same thing. Then we are also losing critical habitats and biodiversity, which Dr. Pradeep Samugdam and his team is looking at. Heat wave is also a big concern for Goa. So this is, again, we have done the work for the SAPCC. You can see this is our work. We have just plotted here extreme temperature. So extreme means how, like even one day also if temperature crosses that much. Today, as of now, temperature in Goa has never crossed 40 degrees. 40 degrees is that threshold which in other places they call as heat waves. For us, heat wave will be even much lesser. But we are pretty much staring at the possibility of crossing 40 degree also pretty soon, maybe by 2035 or so. That's what the models which we have plotted are showing, that at least in 4, 5 days, 6 days, 10 days, which is heat wave, which is more than 40 degree, will prevail in Goa also. But see, the point is that we are a tourist state. People come here for leisure comfort. If the temperatures are touching that high, it will have various implications. And then the minimum temperature also that was witnessed in Goa is also increasing. The minimum temperature, I think it might increase by 7 degrees or so, which has lot of implications for a lot of agricultural producers. So we have, and then you can see that extreme rainfall events are also, we have done on few days, the extreme rainfall events will increase. So I will not dwell upon these findings in detail, because we have already documented all these things in detail in the State Action Plan on Climate Change. But this is the Satram landslide, where Dr. Pradeep Samugdam and I was also in the landslide committee. We have visited. This is probably the biggest landslide ever to hit Goa. But the question is that why the biggest landslide ever has hit in 2021? Which means maybe is there a trend in that? Probably we don't know. We need to collect more data. My PhD students are doing work on that to create more inventory so that we can say something more emphatically. Then we have a cyclone risk, as sir has been saying. You see, the thing is that, as sir said, that now in the Arabian Sea, this also we have reported in the State Action Plan on Climate Change, but I think in his space, so sir has touched upon that the conditions are getting now ripe in the Arabian Sea, which was earlier not the case for cyclone formation. So now the thing is that we have as much probability of a cyclone formation in Arabian Sea as in the Bay of Bengal. In the last couple of decades, the formation of about their work that they have done on the agriculture, how climate change is already impacting the agriculture system and how it will affect future systems. So so I think I will just conclude by giving you some thoughts about the next panelist, whoever comes. What we can do about Goa, one is the mitigation. Mitigation is not a big thing. We are not a big emitter. Probably I think we are a very small emitter, because we have a very big forest area. That forest area is also sequestering a lot of carbon, and we are not a big emitter. So on mitigation front, actually, we may not be able to do much. Even afforestation also, there is a limitation. 60% area is already forest. 67% area is forest and tree cover. How much more area can be given to forestation, etc., is again a debatable and questionable thing. But what we can think about is adaptation. So we need to do monitoring of critical ecosystems, restoration of impaired ecosystems, strengthening of mangrove protection. So I am very happy to say that BITS Pilani and NIO Goa, we are working on a joint project. We have received a joint project and we are working together on the mangrove systems, how, especially in climate change context. For Goa state, like mangrove systems are very important, and most importantly, the early warning systems. I think in coming presentations, people will talk about some of the like early warning systems that in the state people are working on, especially the Goa climate change cell. Very happy. And then I think we have to also think about some financial mechanisms, insurance and compensation. We have to think about insurance mechanisms because we may not be able to solve all the problems. Some loss will take place. How to account for loss so that poor farmers, vulnerable people, people with lesser credit, etc., don't get affected. So this is one of the photographs where we have done some experiment. We have created one early warning system. This is collector of North Goa, and Dr. Pradeep Sarmugdam, I am also there. So we have been doing a lot of things for the state of Goa, but I think we are still in the early stages. We need to go, we need to cover a lot of length before something really conclusive and useful comes out for state of Goa. So I would like to thank you for this opportunity. Sorry, I have taken a bit of more time. Yeah. Thank you very much. So next.
Thank you, sir. We will now head on to our next speaker, Dr. Pappa Das, Impact of Climate Change on Agriculture in Goa. This is going to be his theme and topic.
Here. Thank you. I think I have sent the slides, or shall I put it? This one. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, chairperson of this session, Director BITS Pilani and Ramesh sir, I can see, and Pradeep sir and Rajiv sir, who has invited me. So, thank you for inviting me here. So a very good morning to you all. So I will be dealing about the impact of climate change on Goan agriculture, how it will be impacting and how we can cope with those changes. So that will be my topic. And actually Rajiv sir made my job very easy. He has already told many things. So I will be skipping some of the slides. So as already it has been discussed, the main culprit is greenhouse gases, that is mostly CO2, then you have methane, nitrous oxide, which has led to increased in global temperature. So what are the side effects, as sir has already told? So there will be changes in winds, precipitation, length of growing season, frequency of extreme weather events like cyclones, floods and droughts. And this frequency of extreme weather events which is impacting the global surface temperature relative to 1850 to 1900, if we take all the measures as laid out in Paris Agreement 2015, we may exceed the temperature by 3 degrees Celsius at the end of this century, which is not very much pleasant to us. At the same time, if we try to simulate the conditions over 1850 to 1900, and if we increase the global temperature by 1.5 degrees Celsius, 2 degrees Celsius and 4 degrees Celsius, we could see that this Arctic and Antarctic region will be warming more, as indicated by deeper red color as compared to tropics or equatorial region. At the same time, the land areas will be warm more as compared to your ocean areas. Similarly, if we simulate the conditions for annual rainfall relative to 1850 to 1900, we could see these regions, means Arctic and Antarctic region and equatorial region and some monsoonal region will be receiving more precipitation as compared to your subtropics, means 30 degree to 60 degree, this portion here also will be having less precipitation as compared to equatorial region. So if we come to Goa, as sir already told, so we are having our own data set from old Goa station. So from For temperature, we have taken from 1983 to 2021, and what we have observed, what data says, that the maximum temperature is increasing with a high certainty. Also the mean temperature is increasing, but what we have observed, the mean temperature is, that is minimum temperature, daily minimum temperature, what we experience during morning time, that is reducing. So morning time we will be feeling cold, but daytime there will be very high temperature. So the diurnal range, so that is the difference between maximum and minimum temperature, it is increasing, and it is having a huge impact on agricultural productivity. And if we come to rainfall, as sir told also, that we are taking a larger interval because the rainfall is highly erratic. So you have to take a longer interval to generate any meaningful result. So here we are taking 1951 to 2021. So rainfall is increasing, but the probability or certainty here, it is less, around 4% probability. We can say that rainfall is increasing. But the number of rainy days is showing a decreasing trend. Means within a few days, we will be having the total amount of rainfall, and this year is particularly that scenario we can see. So up to 27 June 2023, there was a large deficit of 65% deficit was there. So it was around 286 millimeter rainfall as compared to normal 832 millimeter rainfall. Then within 10 days, the 7 July 2023, the deficit was reduced to minus 8%, that is considered as normal by IMD. So minus 19 to plus 19, it is considered as normal. So we can imagine within 10 days, means every day we are receiving around 100 millimeters of rainfall, close to 100 millimeters of rainfall. So that may cause flash flooding, submergence in case of our agricultural crops. And till yesterday, 31st July, we were excess. So IMD has reported around 26%, and our station we have recorded around 19% of excess rainfall. So as already told, we are increasing more amount of tropical cyclones, around 26% raise in frequency of tropical cyclones of high to very high over 120 years. So what it is creating? So it is, we are breaching the embankments. So that we are creating to stop the seawater ingress into our agricultural land or fertile land. So that embankments are broken by these cyclones. So when these embankments are broken, the saline water will ingress into our fertile land, and it will make the soil saline, okay, during winter or summer season. So only in the saline soils only rice can be grown. It has certain ecologies that it is grown under submerged conditions, so the salinity level reduces. So that crop, after that crop we cannot have other crop because salinity will increase, so that will lead to poor cropping intensity, means how many crops we are taking from one land, so that is getting reduced. Then these cyclones are also causing loss of stored foods and seeds, whatever we are storing. Then what we are observing? We are observing excess moisture kept fallow after rise. So here we are having cropping intensity of around 115, means 85% of the land remain fallow during the post-monsoon season. So if we summarize all these phenomena into one thing, that we are having increased CO2 concentration, this increased CO2 concentration will lead to increased temperature, and increased temperature will cause increased evapotranspiration, so that will lead to increased desertification, that will lead to increased droughts, number of droughts may be increasing. In same year we might be having very high rainfall, at the same time there will be dearth of water during the post-monsoon season. So we can same time there will be dearth of water during the post-monsoon season. So we can face droughts also. Then rising seas we are observing. Then as the number of heavy rainy days are increasing, extremely heavy rainy days, we may experience flooding. We are experiencing flash flooding or flooding and submergence in crops. Then this will lead to increased salinization, as I have already told, due to ingress of saline water. Then erratic rainfall we are observing, and we are observing increased storm intensity. So these all will lead to increased disease severity, lower yields, and lower nutritive quality. Means if the CO2 concentration in the atmosphere increases, then plant will be ingesting more amount of CO2, sequestering more amount of CO2, more carbohydrate, but less of nitrogen. So that will widen the C to N ratio. Means protein will be less and carbohydrate will be more. So that will reduce the nutritive quality of food, what we are eating. So these are the consequences. Then coming to Goan agriculture, what we have seen, rice is the predominant crop. Then we have taken the long-term weather data and some extreme weather events we have calculated, which are approved by World Meteorological Organizations. So around 29 indicators are there. So we have calculated 27, which is applicable for our region. So we can see that all the extreme weather events were having a negative impact. You can see the slope is downward or no impact except these two. That is minimum of daily minimum temperature during June, July, August, September, and minimum of maximum temperature during June, July, August, September. These two are having positive impact, and all other extreme weather events were having negative impact or no impact on our rice productivity. So especially heavy rainfall events during the time of harvest is impacting our rice productivity. So we should develop some post-harvest management strategies and storage structures to protect our produces. Now I will be talking about some of the adaptation measures, whatever, and also one slide on mitigation measures, what we are working at ICAR to cope with this climate, changing climates, which can be adopted for Goan agriculture to make it climate resilient. So first I will be talking about the integrated farming system model, where we are having different components of crop and livestock. So different components are there. At the same time, many crops will be grown. So what it will make, that will lead to crop and livestock diversification. Suppose some extreme events are there, so one crop may be failing, but some other crops or some other components will be there, which will be providing the farmers with a reasonable income throughout the year. So that livestock component will be giving maybe. So in Goa we are having two conditions, upland conditions and lowland conditions, and in lowland we can go for a rice-based system, and in upland we can go for horticulture-based systems. Then as the rainfall is very high, so we have to, and after that there is dearth of water. So we have to harvest this rainwater to make the cropping intensification or increase the cropping intensity. So our institute has developed two model structures, that is large farm pond and jalkund, that is direct water catchment pit. And depending on the availability of land to the farmers, they can go for any of this. If the land holding is more, they can go for large farm pond, and if the land holding is less, they can go for jalkund. This is having a lifespan of 6 to 7 years, and this can be used for protective irrigation to the crops after rice, where there is no rainfall, or rearing of livestock, piggery, poultry and duckery, and by this way we can increase the cropping intensity and we can store our waters. Then another with NABARD, we are having a pilot project on land shaping, means if this is the suppose lowland condition, low-lying conditions. So one part of the land is dug for a pond, and the soil will be used to elevate the other part of the land. This is elevated area, this is low-lying area, this is the pond. This elevated equivalent per hectare per year. Same way we can go for drip irrigation or sprinkler irrigation, which has the potential to reduce around 2.03 ton CO2 equivalent per hectare per year. We can go for, generally we are blanketly applying the fertilizers, especially nitrogen, which emits nitrous oxide into the atmosphere. We can go for leaf color chart based or fertilizer calculator app developed by our institute, based nitrogen fertilizer application, which has the capacity to reduce 0.21 ton CO2 equivalent per hectare per year. And also tree-based system, agroforestry-based system, which have the highest potential to sequester the carbon, around 8.1 ton per hectare per year. Also, our ICAR, that headquarter, different institutes are developing climate resilient varieties. So during this 2014 and 21, around 1575 high-yielding varieties of field crops were released, and out of which 1300 varieties were climate resilient. So these varieties are tolerant to drought, heat stress, submergence tolerance. So in future, multi-stress tolerant varieties like your drought, salinity, submergence embedded into one variety can be adopted for Goan agriculture, which we are working on and which will make the Goan agriculture climate proof. Also, we are working on weather-based agro-advisory services, means it's kind of early warning system. So in agriculture, we are talking about medium range weather forecast, means 5 to 10 days. Within 7 to 10 days, you have to give some forecast, and based on that, management practices has been tuned to that forecast. So in collaboration with IMD, they are giving 5-day weather forecast, and our expert panel at ICAR, we are developing agro advisories. And every Tuesday and Friday in English and Konkani language, and we have around 130 WhatsApp groups, which is covering 7,000 farmers of 196 villages from North Goa out of 215 villages. So we are also conducting awareness programs to make aware about these farmers about these services. And during extreme weather events, we are giving, time to time, we are giving various measures, what they can take to make their climate, make their agriculture climate resilient. So these are the technologies what we can adopt to make Goan agriculture climate resilient. So thank you one and all for your patient listening.
Thank you, Dr. Das. Our next speaker is Ms. Gauri. She's a green journalist, and she will talk about DRR, Communication, a Citizen's Perspective. She's also a senior environmental correspondent from the Times of India.
To hold it. No change. This one. This is pointer.
After Gauri's presentation, we will have a tea break, and then we'll head for the next 3 speakers.
So since it is a citizen's perspective, I thought I'll start with a very simple slide which speaks about the citizens. So this is, like we started work, the Times of India office was set up in Miramar in 2008. And this is how the road behind the office used to look like even during monsoon days in 2008. So there was like no flooding that we had seen. And this is how the last picture of the drain in front of Hindu pharmacy in Panjim, where this was posted by Raj Vaidya, who owns Hindu pharmacy. And all the bottles, when they were cleaning up, they saw all these plastic bottles. So everybody speaks of smart city works and how the smart city works were possibly messed up, and that is what possibly is causing the flooding. But I think the Panjim MLA also keeps talking about like how the gutters are choked with plastic, and that is one reason the flooding is taking place. But I want to say that the kind of increase that we have seen from over the last 15 years, from 2008 to 2023, so is it really only the plastic choking the gutter, or is it something else? So this is a picture of Panjim now during the monsoon. So during the infrastructure work, as infrastructure works were taking place in Panjim, it was seen that many outlets, there were many traditional outlets, because Panjim has this swampy area, like Pato was also a swampy area which has been eventually filled up and buildings have been constructed on that. So it was acting like a sponge, like even these mangrove areas which are there. And over the years you will see that, there were some traditional channels which were there. There were 6 channels going from Mala into the for the water to go during the high tide. So when the bridge was constructed from Mala connecting to Pato, these 6 of these channels were found to be filled up, and I think only 2 outlets were left, and the diameter was completely reduced, which was causing flooding, and water was entering people's houses. This is a petrol pump in Mala. This is like which was happening every year. This year a pump station has been set up. Then Santine is the same thing. The Dr. Nandakumar Kamath has been saying over the years the traditional outlets have been choked up, and they have been filled over the years during infrastructure works. Now this economic survey just wanted to point out some of the things which has been said by economic survey, like when we speak of climate change and the impact that it will have on people, more than 75% of Goa's people are now in the living in the urban areas. And of this, as you know, most of our coast in Salset, Bardesh, Tiswadi, all the coast is very densely populated. And the economic survey has also said that it could pose significant risk on living conditions, environment development, and also that urban population, it has sounded a warning that urban population in Goa is reaching a saturation level. And the state's population in urban areas has been much faster than in the last decade than over the previous decade, and rural population on the other hand is reducing. Then coastal areas. Basically, CAG had done an audit of how the coastal body functioned, and it found a number of deficiencies in what the Goa Coastal Zone Management Authority was, the way it was functioning. It was found that there was no member from Directorate of Fisheries, there was no member from Pollution Control Board on the GCZMA. Then the permissions had been given on sand dunes for construction of infrastructure, hotels, residential houses. Then there was absence of monitoring system for coral reefs, and there was no turtle management plan for turtle nesting site. It has to be pointed out that only this year the turtle nesting management plan has been notified by GCZMA. Then ISRO study has pointed out that 15 hectares of land along Goa's coast has been lost over the years, over a decade. Tourism, what happened is that there was a natural sort of development. It is one of our main industries today in Goa after the mining is shut down. And there are so many people dependent on their livelihood on tourism, and which is mostly concentrated on the coast. And as you saw, there's a lot of degradation which has been pointed out by the CAG audit in the coastal sort of planning. And now we are talking about taking the tourism to hinterlands. So do we have a plan for that? When thousands of people turn up like this, do we have a plan for management for hinterland tourism? And this is some of the ground I wanted to tell you all. In 2000, these are pictures from the 2021 flooding that took place, and we had gone on ground, and this is the kind of scenes that we saw in Sattari. These pictures are by a photographer, Rajtilak Naik, and what we saw is that this is the river Madai, and what we saw is that there were a lot of encroachments along the banks, and a lot of horticultural plants had been plantations had been allowed to come up over the years over the banks. Then this, like Rajiv Chaturvedi sir showed, this is the forest fires. And again, though, like sir said, Goa is on paper, we have 60% forest. But when we went, we tracked around 15-20 kilometers inside the forest. And what we saw is that though we say we are 60% forest, the quality has deteriorated a lot, because again, here inside the forest we saw that there are more horticultural plantations than forest. So this is mainly Madai Wildlife Sanctuary. So this is. Then there was one of the questions that we were given is about financial planning for climate change. So I had attended the G20 ministerial, and recently at the G20, our chief minister has said he will put a lot of funding into infrastructure for e-mobility, e-vehicles, and like sir said, that Goa is not such a problem area when we are carbon generators. So I just wanted to point out one observation made by the Niti Aayog Vice Chairperson Suman Beri. He said that he's wounded by some of the leading nations calling India a climate laggard. And also he said we need acknowledgement of what is being asked of India, which is to bet the development of a third of humanity on largely untried and risky technology. This is what he had to say about shifting towards e-mobility. So if we are not carbon generators or to that extent, so when we are pushing even states and even when our limited funding to set up infrastructure for e-vehicles, so is it really a priority area when we think of financing for climate change is what we need to think. And this is just a picture of Chernobyl because I thought it's from a documentary that I watched to show that climate is, our nature is resilient in the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gauri. And we will take a quick 10 minutes break for tea. Resume in 10 minutes. We will start immediately. Thank you.
Home of 1.3 billion people. India, home of 1.3 billion people, is a confluence of religions, traditions, and customs. A thriving global center of technology and the world's largest democracy. As one of the oldest civilizations in the world with a rich cultural heritage and diversity, and as the fifth largest economy in the world, India is proud to assume the presidency of G20. As the country blooms into a new era, we look to another poignant symbol for humanity to emerge victorious from its challenges. Lotus, the national flower of India, representing our culture, history, and heritage. A poignant symbol for humanity to emerge victorious from its challenges. And the inspiration for India's G20 logo design. The design, rendered in saffron, white, green and blue, is drawn from the national flag of India. The 7 petals in the logo signify the 7 seas and the coming together of 7 continents at G20 India 2023. Sitting above the lotus is a representation of the earth, reflecting India's pro-planet approach to life and seeing the world as one family. From this, we derive the theme for G20 India 2023, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future. A theme that brings the G20's focus on shared global growth, while being in harmony with nature. G20 India 2023. One earth, one family, one future. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. India, home of 1.3 billion people, is a confluence of religions, traditions, and customs. A thriving global center of technology and the world's largest democracy. As one of the oldest civilizations in the world with a rich cultural heritage and diversity, And as the fifth largest economy in the world, India is proud to assume the presidency of G20. As the country blooms into a new era, we look to another poignant symbol for humanity to emerge victorious from its challenges. Lotus, the national flower of India, representing our culture, history and heritage. A poignant symbol for humanity to emerge victorious from its challenges. And the inspiration for India's G20 logo design. The design, rendered in saffron, white, green and blue, is drawn from the national flag of India. The 7 petals in the logo, a theme that brings the G20's focus on shared global growth, while being in harmony with nature. G20 India 2023. One Earth, one family, one future. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. India, home of 1.3 billion people, is a confluence of religions, traditions and customs. A thriving global center of technology and the world's largest democracy. As one of the oldest civilizations in the world with a rich cultural heritage and diversity, and as the 5th largest economy in the world, India is proud to assume the presidency of G20. As the country blooms into a new era, we look to another poignant symbol for humanity to emerge victorious from its challenges. Lotus, the national flower of India, representing our culture, history and heritage. A poignant symbol for humanity to emerge victorious from its challenges. And the inspiration for India's G20 logo design. The design, rendered in saffron, white, green and blue, is drawn from the national flag of India. The 7 petals in the logo signify the 7 seas and the coming together of 7 continents at G20 India 2023. Sitting above the lotus is a representation of the earth, reflecting India's pro-planet approach to life and seeing the world as one family. From this, we derive the theme for G20 India 2023, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future. A theme that brings the G20's focus on shared global growth, while being in harmony with nature. G20 India 2023. One Earth, one family, one future. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. India, home of 1.3 billion people, is a confluence of religions, traditions and customs. A thriving global center of technology and the world's largest democracy. As one of the oldest civilizations in the world with a rich cultural heritage and diversity, And as the fifth largest economy in the world, India is proud to assume the presidency of G20. As the country blooms into a new era, we look to another poignant symbol for humanity to emerge victorious from its challenges. Lotus, the national flower of India, representing our culture, history, and heritage. A poignant symbol for humanity 2023. Sitting above the lotus is a representation of the earth, reflecting India's pro-planet approach to life and seeing the world as one family. From this, we derive the theme for G20 India 2023, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future. A theme that brings the G20's focus on shared global growth, while being in harmony with nature. G20 India 2023. One earth, one family, one future. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. India, home of 1.3 billion people, is a confluence of religions, traditions, and customs. A thriving global center of technology and the world's largest democracy. As one of the oldest civilizations in the world with a rich cultural heritage and diversity, and as the fifth largest economy in the world, India is proud to assume the presidency of G20. As the country blooms into a new era, we look to another poignant symbol for humanity to emerge victorious from its challenges. Lotus, the national flower of India, representing our culture, history, and heritage. A poignant symbol for humanity to emerge victorious from its challenges. And the inspiration for India's G20 logo design. The design, rendered in saffron, white, green, and blue, is drawn from the national flag of India. The 7 petals in the logo signify the 7 seas and the coming together of 7 continents at G20 India 2023. Sitting above the lotus is a representation of the earth, reflecting India's pro-planet approach to life and seeing the world as one family. From this, we derive the theme for G20 India 2023, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future. A theme that brings the G20's focus on shared global growth, while being in harmony with nature. G20 India 2023. One earth, one family, one future. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. India, home of 1.3 billion people, is a confluence of religions, traditions, and customs. A thriving global center of technology and the world's largest democracy. As one of the oldest civilizations in the world with a rich cultural heritage and diversity,
When their talks, their presentation, let them be seated here. Join the chief guest. He's alone over here. So thank you everyone for joining us once again. If you have your friends still standing outside, seated outside, please get them in. Your friends. So, what are they? Yeah. Okay, so may I now invite our next speaker, Dr. Pradeep Sarmokadam. He will be talking to us about the participatory initiatives for climate change mitigation and biodiversity conservation in Goa. He is the member secretary of Biodiversity Board, so this is an apt topic for him. Let us hear from Dr. Pradeep Sarmokadam, sir.
Dear friends, you have heard me once. I do not want to make it boring, neither I want to be repetitive. So I will very shortly discuss about participatory work that we need to do to deal with the climate change issue. Now we know as a state when we work, as a scientist when we work, as a researcher, dealing with the people, and when you want people to be part of the whole system, which they are part of the whole system, but we want people to be participative, and for that we have to sometimes guide them as to what they have to look for and what they have to look at. So because the problem of climate change is so vast, I remember whenever we had consultations, people used to talk about their personal issues, personal problems, compensations and all, and the bigger problem is not looked at. When we look at the weather change, that today it is very hot, so it is climate change. It does not mean that. Climate has to be over a period of time. So when we are prioritizing the problems, what are the actual problems in the state? So when we tell people that, see, the major problem in Goa that we face today is 14.7% of the low-lying land is vulnerable to climate change. We all know this. And this is something when we talk to people, then they know, yes, they know the problem. Once you tell them the problem, then you find that they come out with all sorts of solutions, inputs, and that is how we have to drive when we are talking to people, and how to make it more participatory. Making it more participatory, we need to really identify the people at village level. Like here, if I tell you that out of so many villages, we have invited 2 biodiversity committee chairpersons, maybe from Bastora, one girl is there, and a professor from Kurti Khandepar, who is a professor in botanist. We have invited them because these are the people, when we interact, we find that they are taking more inputs, they are giving more inputs, they are more participatory. So to make this entire movement a participatory movement, so that at every point we have climate sentinels, we have the climate observers. We in fact have a group of climate monsoon observers. We have started with monsoon observers groups where we have students, many people who are motivated to look at the daily rainfall. Shruti will be talking about it. And this is one small initiative we have taken for the people to realize. And I think the most important point for people's participation is when they involve. For example, we took a small initiative of Shram Shakti se Jala Samruddhi. What we did, small water ponds which don't come under the purview of WRD, small water ponds on the mountains, but they make a lot of difference to the entire watershed. So what we did, we started cleaning them, and we said that no contracting jobs. You have to yourself put your hand in the muck or in the silt and you have to clean them. When this we started, people were first time realizing that so much silt was there in this small pond which we used to every day see, and then they do not allow anybody to throw any plastic or dirt inside because they know how much they had to sweat to actually clean that. So I think that was one initiative where we realized, and after that we thought we have to make it more inclusive, more participatory. So now even every day when they report us their rainfall, their observations on our group, we find they are thrilled that yesterday it was 220 mm rainfall and I found it in my village. So this is small thing if you look at it, but when you look at the impact it creates over a period of 1 month or 2 months, these people start behaving like they are really wise, and they become very serious when it comes to climate change. And I realized that they were never serious before this, because now they have started measuring the rainfall And they have themselves started creating the data, and they know that, oh, we had only 80 mm yesterday. This day there was, say, 26 mm at my place. So we have been discussing something which is climate related and constructive. So making climate everybody's business is something, and not that whole day you have to talk about climate change that we are doing today for half day. We are talking about, not required. 5 minutes in a day, you talk about what happened yesterday in which place, only about climate change. I think this will resolve many other issues, because we won't be talking about the TV serials and other dirty things which is occupying the 70% of the mind. So we have to inculcate this important seed in the minds of people, and I think we have been able to do this to some extent. And now when it comes to participatory planning, so many questionnaires, 150 plus questionnaires submitted by people in detailed way, telling us as to how to go about conservation. But for any participatory movement, the most important point is giving them the ready information, and 65%, 63% of forest cover. It's not actually a forest cover. 33% is a forest cover, remaining is a tree canopy cover. But then again, the quality of the forest, whether we are fragmenting forest. So I'm not going back into the climate. My topic is participatory. So participation of people, I think we have been able to mobilize maximum people on the ground. We have every village panchayat level, we have biodiversity committee. Within them, we have many active BMCs. Within them, we have many intelligent BMCs, proactive, who are ready to do something on the ground. And for this, we are planning 2 major success stories, one in the North Goa and one in the South Goa. These success stories will be models. And on this platform, I want to urge all of you, you may be from any field, please start working with us, because these 2 models which we are creating in the state of Goa are climate resilient models, and which is a slice of Goa. Like we have waterfront, we have the Khazan area, we have the Band, we have the mangroves, we have the uplands, then we have the mountains. And this particular feature we have taken 2 areas, one in North Goa, which is MYAS, with a similar geomorphological feature, one in the South Goa in Durga Farm, and we are going to develop 2 models where again management will be different. So what I want to say is, I have called GEDA, I told them you put your solar, whatever you want to put here. We called WRD, I said you want to create bunds and everything, try at these places. We called agriculture department, say let us do climate smart, seed bank, farming, rice park, all this. So these all ideas have been put. So tomorrow if you want to see, seeing is believing, I feel. For people, if you want to educate, may not be in the hall or classroom. We have to take them to show the climate resilient farm, climate resilient livelihood based value addition facility, climate smart livestock management, and all this we are planning in these 2 areas. National Adaptation Fund is what we are trying to tap. The DPR is ready. We are waiting for the approval. We have 3-tier system of climate management in the state of Goa. Climate Governing Council headed by the Chief Minister. Then we have Climate State Level Steering Committee headed by the Chief Secretary. Then we have SLSC for climate change, and the Climate Cell, which is the basic. So Climate Cell, SLSC, and Governing Council. I am the nodal officer, fortunately, for all the 3. So I would like to tell you that any small technology initiative, input, idea, whatever you have, which can be implemented in the state of Goa, please connect with us. We'll be very happy to work with anyone and everyone, right from youth. And here, although it is Y20, we request youth to actually start working in these areas, and that is going to actually propel the turbine of participatory climate resilient activity. So I don't want to be elaborate on this. I think that was, I would request, since we are running out of time, all other speakers to confine to that time, and we will have some time for brainstorming and getting your ideas. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, sir. And now I call upon Shruti Arpaikar, project scientist at Goa State Climate Change Cell. She's a very dear colleague of mine. She's known as a database manager in our cell as well. She is leading the program on monsoon observers. So I introduce Shruti here. Come.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be talking about I'll be talking about participatory disaster risk reduction planning in Goa by involving citizens in observation, early warning and action. So basically what we are going to talk about is the participatory disaster risk reduction plan and how plan in an area. What about the local communities? Sitting at some position, okay, in the government authority, you might not be knowing about what is basically happening in that area. So when you incorporate the local communities into it, you're going to get the local knowledge, their experiences, and what are the disasters that already have taken place. So those people will also give you the outcomes of resources, what are their evacuation routes when the disaster takes place. So all this information, we are going to get it from the communities. So participatory disaster risk reduction is an initiative strategy that involves all the stakeholders consisting of the government body, the private sector, and most important, the local communities. So it's like an approach where everyone is heard in order to form that particular plan. So what is the importance, like why we are involving the citizen? So first thing is that we are going to get the local knowledge about that area. We are not going to get whatever things that we want from that area. Those are the local people that are going to give us the environmental conditions over there. They even will help us in order to give the observations. So that comes under the local knowledge. Inclusiveness means what? We are going to incorporate these local communities and we are going to take their knowledges in order to form this plan. Third thing is awareness. With that, even those people will be aware of what are the disasters that they are going to face in coming time. And ownership, that is the most important thing. Now what initiative we have taken, that is Goa State Climate Change Cell, is the initiative part or the ownership part, sorry. Now ownership, the people should think that this is their area, this is their data, and they should face or they should come up with the ideas in order to reduce down the disaster. So participatory approach not only consider the community leader, it also consider the stakeholder for effective disaster reduction plan. We have inclusiveness, relative solution. Now this solution won't be for the entire state of Goa, it will be for a particular area. Okay, so when you are giving your inputs, it will be for that particular area. So these are the key characteristics that a participatory disaster risk reduction plan should have. The first one is inclusiveness, collaboration. Now what do you mean by collaboration? You are going to incorporate some of the factors, like some of the parts of education, the environment, as well as infrastructure when you are going to form the disaster risk reduction plan. The third thing is bottom-up approach. We always have the top-down approach which has been initiated by the government. The government give us the policy, not thinking about what is the grassroots level problem. So here what we are going to focus on the bottom-up approach, where we are going to think about the vulnerable areas, the problems that which are present in that particular area, and we are coming up with the solutions for it. Capacity building, training the people, giving them skills and knowledge about when the disaster will occur, what are the things they have to do, like for the rescue, first aid, research. So all these things will be given to the capacity building part. Third thing, risk assessment and analysis, empowering the people in order to find out the risk assessment area, the vulnerable areas, and talking about it in the reduction plan, that is disaster reduction plan. Community ownership, people should own this process. It should not be that they are doing for the sake. It should be like, it is my area, I have to protect it. I have to protect the people staying in that area. And the last one is monitoring and evaluation, that is giving them some sort of equipments where they can do the timely monitoring of their system. So benefits of participatory disaster risk reduction planning. The first thing is building the trust and cooperation between different stakeholders, raise awareness of disaster risk and how to mitigate them. Now over here, once you make the plan, it's not that it's a fixed plan. Every now and then you have to upgrade it. So when this team, a small monitoring, a manual equipment, okay, where they can give the observation on daily basis to us, we can come up with some sort of early warning. Now over here, the problem is we cannot rely completely on that data, but in some sense we can have a faith in that, because out of 100, at least 80% of the data will be accurate. So in those cases, we can come up with a warning section. Action plan and preparedness, again involving the community, the evacuation routes. Sitting over here, I won't be able to identify which are the evacuation routes in Sattari Taluka when the landslide will take place. It's the local communities who's going to give us the information. So when we are going to incorporate such plan, we should have the community in place. And the last one is capacity building and training. So we have to give them the training, how you can rescue, search, and even do the first aid of the whenever the disaster occurs. So these are how the citizens report their observation. Now this is not completely with respect to Goa. Some of the things are being incorporated in Goa. Now for example, the SMS alert that we have already encountered because of the heavy rainfall, the alerts which we're getting from north and south districts. Okay, even the emergency outline and all those things, hotlines which are present, this is after the disaster has occurred. It's not that before. Now for example, SMS alert is one before the disaster occurs, but emergency hotline and all, it's after the disaster that has occurred. So we have to come up with some solutions to it. Now this is the Goa state profile. Now why we are going for all this disaster risk reduction plan in state of Goa. So Goa is a small state consisting of 2 districts and 12 talukas. The area is 3,002 square kilometers, having maximum population in the urban areas than in the rural areas. And the most important, it is multi-hazard prone coastal state, which consists of both the hazard. One is the natural and the second one is human induced. So here are some of the examples of the natural disasters which takes place in Goa. So first is flooding and coastal erosion, landslides, earthquakes, forest fires which we have recently encountered, windstorms, and these are some of the newsletters which I have corrected. Okay. So what an initiative that has been taken by the Goa State Climate Change Cell in collaboration and Goa State Biodiversity Board in collaboration with Satar. So we have come up with a monsoon observer program. Okay, it's a collaboration with Satar. Now what basically is the objective of it? It is community mapping and citizen observation and reporting. So here we have given rain gauges and thermometers to individuals where they are going to register it through the Satar app. Their longitude, latitudes will be registered, their locations will be registered in the app, and on the daily basis they have to put their data in that app. So this is the initiative, that is Monsoon Observer, which took place on 21st June 2023, where our Honorable Minister of Environment and Climate Change, Sri Nilesh Cabral sir, distributed the rain gauges and thermometer to the college student as well as to the elderly person. And one of the rain gauge was installed in Chikalim play or in the area during the Sanjao festival, and till now they are giving the readings on the regular basis. So over here, one thing that we have noticed is around 71% of the youths are being involved, and we have the senior citizens who are also involved into it, which is 29%. So this is how the rain gauge looks like, which you have to place it in an open area. And this is the Citizen Science India app, where you have to register it, your location, and once you locate it and once you enter your data, you are being able to identify whether your stations are active or not. So on daily basis, at 8:30 in the morning and 8:30 at night, you have to register your data. So this is the daily rainfall measurement for started in a late version, sorry. So that's why the data recording is slightly less. But if you see, column is the one who is getting the maximum rainfall on per day basis. This is the thermometer and temperature, humidity data. So we have a thermometer, a dry and wet bulb thermometer, which is given. It's a handy one, no much mechanics is required. You just have to find out the daily wet temperature and dry temperature, and accordingly you have to put it on a manual basis on a sheet. So right now we are in a process of going for a mobile app where the citizens will directly be able to enter the data. So these are some of the daily temperature measurement. Whatever data that citizen have sent it to us, we have recorded it. We have still not analyzed it because we don't have the prior or pre-data for the analysis purpose. So this is the humidity measurement in percent. The data is slightly in a small version, so you won't be able to identify it. But here I can just tell you that the maximum temperature that we have encountered is 30. And over here the humidity is reaching almost to 90% because it is a rainy season, and this is basically be encountered in Keri Sattari Taluka, where the maximum rainfall is been encountered. So what are the challenges now? What we are facing the challenges when we have distributed these rain gauges and thermometer? First thing is the communication. The second thing is technical support, and the last one is community engagement. We have to reach to maximum people in order to engage them for this particular program. So we have just started with distribution of few, and we are going to record it. Those who are not doing it on a regular basis, we also have a procedure where we are taking back the rain gauges and the thermometer if the readings and all are not done in a proper way. So we want to, one can say that we want the maximum people should come up with this particular procedure and not to do it on for a time basis purpose. So now what is an ongoing project? We have lot of errors in the manual process. So what we are going to do it in the long run process. So we are going to find out with a decentralized participatory monitoring system, where we are going to install the automatic weather monitoring station, considering the GSM model, Global System for Mobile Communication System, and Wi-Fi modules will be incorporated. GSM is used since if there is a network connectivity problem is there, we can use a SIM card and get the data, and Wi-Fi model to get the data on an email basis to us, so that data will be saved in the database server, and the time period that we have decided is 2 minutes. We can reduce it down also. After 2 minutes we are taking the data. Okay, and these are the places where we are going to install the automatic weather station. One is Durga Farm, the second one is Shikeri Goshala, and the third one is Kavilosim Beach. So these are the 3 areas that we have encountered or we have finalized for the timing purpose. Then we are going to install it in all the 12 talukas, one station. Now these stations and what the stations which are being used by the IMD, there are cost differences a lot is there. We are going for a smaller version with a cost-effective product. So these are the advantages. First is accuracy. When a person comes into picture, there will be an error. Sometimes I feel that 8:30 is a time on Sundays and all, I won't feel like to enter the data. So there are errors. So mostly in these cases, we are not getting errors on Sundays and Saturdays. Frequency, it's 8:30 in the morning and 8:30 at night. So in between, what is the changes that are happening? We are not able to get it. So that's why the frequency comes into picture. So with that automatic weather station, we're going to eradicate that frequency part. The third thing is cost, one-time investment, and as I told you that IMD is going for a big 10 lakhs or in crore stations, we are going for in thousands. So, and since I'm an engineer by profession, so I want to reduce down it to more lesser version. And since the data is very much important, we are going to do the analysis. Since we are the Goa State Climate Change Cell.
Mr. Gopal Sarkat, they are from NABARD. This is a joint presentation. So while the presentation is coming up, they're going to talk about improved financing for DRR under a changing climate. Shruti, may I request you to please come on the dais, join the panelists.
Thank you, ma'am. I'd like to first thank GSBB and BITS Pilani for inviting us here. And without any delay, let me start my presentation. So we have been given the topic of improved financing for disaster risk reduction under climate change. The PPT has been prepared by myself and my colleague here, Gopal Sarkate. This will be a discussion flow. We'll look at disaster statistics, and then we'll go around and look at some sources of finance, some obstacle in climate finance, then NABARD's initiative, and at the end we'll go towards the way forward. So let me start this presentation by telling you an incident which occurred in 2014. There was a village called Malin in Maharashtra, and all the people were sleeping in the village, and around 5 o'clock in the morning a landslide occurred, and within minutes all the people sleeping, they got buried under the landslide. Around 161 people died that day. So this is the intensity of the disasters, and this has been occurred because of the climate change. So if you look at some statistics here, in 20 years around 80,000 people have died due to disasters. 321 catastrophic events have been reported in India alone, and India is third largest in the number of natural disasters, only after China and US, and economic losses are to the tune of around $80 billion in the last 20 years. Climate change challenges, this has been quoted by IPCC's assessment report 6. If we want to restrict the temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2030, we have to cut our GHG emission by 43%. And if we don't do that, then the yield of rice, wheat and pulses will be reduced almost 9%. 40% of the population will live in water scarce areas, and these are just the disasters. This is food disaster, this is water disasters. So that's why the financing comes into the picture, to reduce the risk of the disasters. Now, what exactly is the disaster risk reduction? It is first of all identifying, then assessing, and third is reducing the risk of the disaster. It is basically aimed at preventing the new disaster and reducing the existing disaster risk. If you look at the map here, every area in India is prone to some kind of disaster. If you look at the blue zone here, it is the coastal zone, which is prone to heavy precipitation, urban floods, cyclone and landslides, like other my panel members said. Now, what are the different sources of the finance? We'll go from international front. First of all, we have multilateral development banks, like we have World Bank, then we have Asian Infrastructure Development Bank, New Development Bank. They have different kinds of products to cater to the needs of climate financing of developing and underdeveloped nations. Then we have carbon markets. This is a new instrument that has come into the picture of trading. Here we can trade the carbon credits, and the companies can earn the profit through that. Then good old taxes and cess, through which government earns money. Then we have developmental financial institutions like ourselves, NABARD. We are channeling the international and national fund. We have not listed here, but they are infrastructure investment funds. Then we have blended finance, which is a blend of grants, credit guarantee and debt as well. Then we have green guarantee, like I said, credit guarantee. It will be a partial credit guarantee or a full credit guarantee to the loans. And then finally, on the lines of national infrastructure pipeline, we can have green infrastructure pipeline, wherein timely regulatory support and better institutional and implementation mechanism will be there. Then what are the challenges in climate finance? So you will be surprised to know that around 80% of the finance goes to the mitigation efforts, and only 20% goes to the adaptation efforts. So we have to move from mitigation to adaptation. Like sir said, mitigation opportunities are quite less, and we need to be prepared for upcoming disasters because they are going to come. Then missed targets. For example, you might be knowing that developed nations, they committed to give around $100 billion annually to developing nations for climate change, but they have not even once fulfilled their target. Then viability of climate funding. That is because of the long gestation period and upcoming slowdown because of the COVID-19 crisis. Slowdown will further reduce the government and corporation funds as well, and it will definitely impact adversely on climate financing. Then we have information asymmetry. Since climate change is a relatively new topic, we don't have a long experience in that. So to create the models, it is still in the nascent stage. Then we have greenwashing. Greenwashing is something like false and misleading impression regarding how a company's products are environment friendly. That way, the finances focused towards climate financing, they are going to the wrong activity. And finally, lack of experts. We need experts in the field of finance industry as well, because since it's a technical subject, that's why for appraisal and scrutiny, we need the experts. Now, I'll call upon the stage my colleague here, Gopal Sarkate, to give you the further presentation.
Thank you, sir. So, I would not be taking much time here. So, as you already know, everybody has told about different kind of disasters that is occurring. But how can we take initiatives to stop this? How can we take efforts to mitigate this? Even if you buy a bottle of Bisleri, there is a value of recycle on that. There is a certain 5 rupees something per kg of value given to that bottle for recycling. So nobody wants to do work for free. And climate change projects for say, as sir is also aware, requires huge funding, huge financing. So what is the current mechanism that is available for financing different kind of climate change projects in India at the moment is shortly given here. We will start from the UNFCCC funding. So under UNFCCC, there is adaptation fund has been created, and under adaptation fund, the funding is provided to different kind of developing and underdeveloped countries for financing the adaptation projects. There is Green Climate Fund is also there, and there are a couple of projects that have been sanctioned under this fund in India that we will look in the coming slides. Apart from that, there are non-UNFCCC fundings such as UNDP is there, UNEP is there, and there are multilateral organizations such as GIZ, KFW. These are Germany's organizations, and there is JICA from Japan, which are in association with associations like development banks, implementing different kind of projects in different countries. But most important is what is our national fund, what is our national fund budget for this disaster risk reduction. So particularly coming to our national fund, the most important fund is NAFCC, and as sir has rightly mentioned, a state needs to create SAPCC to get funding under this NAFCC funding. So I would like to, that is interesting to know. So if you see the adaptation fund, around 6 projects have been financed in India, and the corpus of those funds is around 60 crore rupees at the moment. Under the NFCC, around 30 projects are currently in progress in India, and the corpus is around 847 crore rupees. It is huge. And if you look at the Green Climate Fund, around 7 projects are there in India, out of which 2 projects are in collaboration with other nations, and 5 are solely for India. So we will be looking at what are those projects in the coming slides also. But more importantly is around 4,350 crore rupees have been invested in financing these projects. Apart from that, the more interesting and highlighting thing is that our government has recently launched in previous financial year the green bonds. And in the first year itself, around 16,000 crore rupees have been raised through these green bonds for climate financing. My colleague has already mentioned that green bonds could be a future for climate financing. So basically you are purchasing some green bonds out of a government. It could be a municipality, it could be an organization, and then you are essentially funding the green projects in that state, in that particular area. And right now we were discussing with sir that for Goa also they are planning to launch green bonds, and we will be taking it collaboratively. Apart from that, so where this funding is going, all this funding, how it is targeted. So mostly these six sectors are being targeted through these fundings. It involves the climate smart agriculture, soil and water conservation measures, renewable energy, livestock and fisheries management. But out of these fundings, out of these projects, where are the successful models that have been created? So for example, under adaptation funds, there are 6 projects that have been sanctioned, and these projects cover some projects in Rajasthan, some in MP, some in Uttarakhand, and some in Andhra Pradesh also. You can see the complete map of different kind of projects that have been sanctioned and under which districts they have been sanctioned and what is the impact of those projects. Similarly, under the Green Climate Funds also, around 7 projects have been sanctioned, out of which I would like to mention the most prominent project that was sanctioned with the $250 million financed by Green Climate Fund is a rooftop solar installation. Around 250 megawatt of clean energy, solar energy is proposed to be created out of this project, and it was sanctioned in the year of 2018 and it is expected to complete by the year 2024, sorry. And other projects also include such as India e-mobility. As we know that many people nowadays are preferring to drive e-vehicle. That is a small contribution from our side also. And government is also providing various kind of subsidy. There are schemes such as FAME scheme which provides subsidy for buying and purchasing of the electric vehicles. So these kind of projects are being funded through this Green Climate Fund. And when it comes to our national fund, that is the National Adaptation Fund for Climate Change, what are the projects that have been implemented? So around 30 projects all over our country have been financed under this, right from the northeastern state of Sikkim till the end of our land, that is Kerala. Multiple projects, around 30 projects have been sanctioned under green financing, we can say. But not just these are the major projects, these are bigger projects, these are in crores. But from NABARD side also, out of our own profit, we have created a fund, a small fund of around 20 crore corpus, under which we are sanctioning multiple projects throughout India. So that is the Clean Climate Change Fund, and under that we have financed a couple of projects in Goa also. I will be showing you those projects also. So, and apart from that, we have also created a Center for Climate Change in our Learning Institute in Lucknow, which provides the knowledge dissemination, which provides the technology transportation for climate change related activities, including climate finance also. So the question arises that, okay, the problem is there, the identification of the problem has been done, households, and have bought around 25 lakh hectare area under cultivation, under irrigation. So this is a quite significant success of the climate change initiatives that has been taken. Similarly, we are implementing the Tribal Development Fund, and under that, wadis have been created of different kind of plants such as mangoes, cashews, which provide livelihoods to the farmers, to the people, the tribal people there. And these are about these figures, like 900 TDF projects benefiting around 6 lakh tribal families. These are all over India figures. But what about Goa? So in Goa also we have sanctioned 2 projects. As we already discussed recently, many dignitaries have mentioned that Khazan land is one of the point issue in Goa right now. Around 18,000 hectare land in Goa is Khazan land, and it is bound to increase with the adversities of climate change. So for that, in collaboration with ICR, we have sanctioned one Khazan land development project. In the left side you can see that it is a demonstration project of integrated farming. So we are planning that once this model is developed, with the help of GSBB, we would like GSBB to take it forward and implement across all over Goa if it is a successful model. And apart from that, we are also supporting the awareness creation. Mangroves are an important part of the coastal ecosystem, very important part. And we had sanctioned one project for the importance of mangrove ecosystem in the Goa. So this was all about the success stories, but how do we go about the climate financing in the coming future? It is said, as per the RBI's report on currency and finance, that around 2.5% of GDP, that will come to around 5 to 6 lakh rupees, 5 to 6 lakh thousand rupees, crore rupees is required annually to fund the climate change projects. So this much of amount is required. So how do we collect, how do we accumulate those kind of funds? So my colleague has mentioned that there are different kind of initiatives that have been introduced by government, such as green bonds is there is Green Climate Fund, Adaptation Fund, NFCC. But apart from that, our collaboration, our contribution is also important. What are the way forwarding that climate finance has to be made more predictable and assured? Apart from that, there is a requirement of technical expert in the finance industry. I was discussing with Sophie sir here that we are also implementing some kind of participatory approach that in form of the watershed projects we had done. The technical experts are required to implement such projects, and similarly other climate change projects also require the technical experts. So more and more technical experts are required to implement such kind of bigger projects because the bigger financing is required for those projects. And with this I would like to say thank you for giving us the opportunity, and thank you for inviting. Thank you so much.
A very big thank you to the NABARD team. And now, respected convener, sir, what do we do at 1:16? Should we start with brainstorming? Okay, so over to you, the chairperson for the panelist discussion.
I think this is the time we should thank all the speakers for providing a very, though the time was not there, despite the fact that they have spoken for a very small period of time, they gave a very good perspective of all the climate change scenario, and particularly some of the talks which were very much focused on the Goa. So if you see in the beginning, when Rajiv ji talked about the evidences of climate change, he clearly shows how the temperature is changing. And within India itself, how temperature is changing from Kerala to Goa to other rest of the country. Similarly, the rainfall pattern, how it is changing, where somewhere it is rainfall is much more, and also how the extreme weather is getting impacted. And followed by the talk, actually, the Bappa Das ji talked about Ms. Gauri. She talked about the real sense climate change we can see in the city of Panjim when few years back it was not flooded, where now every year it is getting flooded, and year by year actually how the flood is increasing. It was from knee deep to going into the car. And also she talked about the flooding, different flooding and coastal erosion, losing 15 hectare of land area because of the coastal erosion. In the Kondilim area, a lot of land has been lost. So and also she initiated to talk a little bit about the citizen partnership in this direction, and how some of the initiative she or other people took to enhance the participation, and also the government to take care of the turtle hatchery, and also coral reef monitoring things when we citizens are taking care. I think this thing can be taken care. And then Pradeep ji talked about the real citizen participation, because unless citizens are involved, we are not realize how difficult it is. And hence, followed by the talk Surti has given, and she really provided a real sense solution, actually very cheap, low cost solution of this monitoring of this different climate change. When you need means other organizations are putting the huge system to monitor automatically. This simple human public participation, how it can change the entire scenario. And also actually this provides a sense of responsibility when public are participating into that. So I think this is very much required. And at the end, NABARD has talked about the different financial situation, how it is available, how difficult it is, how easy it is, and how successful it has been done. Successfully it has been. So I think in nutshell, we have got a very good glimpse within a small time period about the climate change impact, and also how it is happening, how high it is happening, and how it can be taken care for the mitigation as well as adaptation. So some of the things which people are talking about, the adaptation has to be focused clearly, and I think there we have to put a lot of impact. So I think that this was a very successful meeting. I mean, even though it was 1 or 2 hours or 3 hours, I think its impact would be very, very big. And I think this gives a little bit time for us, or a perspective for us to provide a white paper which can be submitted somewhere else to do much more, and particularly involving the public. So thank you very much to all of you. And I now invite our organizer to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much. We are running out of time. We have so much of talent in this room. We have our colleagues from collectorate, from both the collectorates. We have our colleague from the forest department. We have our colleagues from the legal profession. So we have BMC colleagues. But the tragedy is that we don't have time. We won't be able to listen. We have another program lined up at 2 o'clock, and in between we have to have lunch and come back. So I would like to, but the vote of thank is important. People who have toiled for it, people who have really contributed in success of this event. This event has been extremely successful. We will certainly come up with the white paper or even a publication. This is possible because the kind of things that has been discussed here are really very important. So I would like to first of all thank our chief guest, Professor Sunil Singh, because he has been so kind to us, and I personally learned so much from him about the ocean, and he has been very kind to us in gracing this our invitation. Then I would like to thank Dr. Pradeep Sarmugam from Goa Climate Change Cell and Goa Biodiversity Board, and we have a lot of colleagues who have come and contributed to the conduction of this program from Goa Biodiversity Board and Goa Climate Change Cell. For example, looking forward to interacting with them again in the next session. And then we have the deputy collectors from North and South. We really thank you for your presence. I'm really sorry that we couldn't really get out of you what we would have actually wanted, but probably it is that we need to organize something else. Again, we need a repeat of this or something, so that all of that thing. Then we have our colleague Amit from the Forest Department. We are really grateful to have you here. We have our BMC chairman from a couple of villages. We have BMC members. And we are very grateful to you for coming here and gracing this occasion and interacting with us. We have scientists from ICAR, Bappa Das is there. We have a colleague from Bappa Das's. He didn't get opportunity to speak. I'm really sorry for that. But they have done tremendous amount of work. I think this 2-3 hours is not enough actually. We have so much of talent in this room, especially around this. We needed more time. And we have colleagues from NIO. We have MR Ramesh Kumar from NIO, we have other colleagues from NIO, and we have officers from NABARD who have given so much of perspective about the finance. And we really look forward to interacting with them. I think this is very important to listen from him. We have colleagues from IULAR, which is assistant professors from India International Legal Education and Research. And then we have faculty members from different colleges and students who have come. And lastly, I would like to thank Simran Sharma from our team. She has really worked tirelessly for 10 days. Yesterday night she didn't sleep at all. And then we have Simran Sharma, Nasla Najib, she is keeping the report here. We have Karan Josh, we have Aritra, we have Arvind Kumar. All these guys, none of them have slept. I have only taken those names who have not slept. Others are not taking names. And then, finally, I would like to thank my director, sir, because as you know, this room where we are working, the projector was not working. So it was, but sir has been so kind. On Saturday he said, no, we will get it working. And I don't know, like my colleagues from the audiovisual team, especially Manas and others, they have worked so hard. Yesterday when we came for rehearsals and seeing, their eyes were swollen. I was thinking that I'm only working hard for this, but there are so many people in the background working hard for this. I would also like to thank our dean and all the people who have made this event successful. Thank you one and all once again. Lunch is organized for all of you in VGH, or Visitors Guest House. We have some cars, we can take you, otherwise it is a comfortable walk also from here. It's a very nice place, so kindly come and join us for lunch. And people who are coming for the afternoon program for this, the G20 University Connect, kindly come back directly here, because we will again begin at sharp 2:10. Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, I also wanted to thank all of you. Thank you very much for being here with us. I know the time was limited, but I think we should conduct this meeting again sometime soon with all of you here. More time for discussion, question answers, and we look forward to inviting you again to be with us. Thank you so much for being us.
gift hamper to the panelists who have not been given this earlier.
So I request the director, BITS director, to hand over the hampers to our panelists. So yes, thank you to our chief guest and to our esteemed panelists as well for being here, for joining us today. So, please.